Hello, dear friends. Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. How are you doing today? I wanted to do a quick review, as quick as possible, on this book. This book is Anti-Racist by Tiffany Jewell and illustrated by Aurelia Durand. The title should really be This Book is Racist, because it is racist, obviously. Um, and I want to know if I can just quickly try and go through it as best I can. I'm actually glad I read it. It's for teenagers, so you can read it in one or two sittings. It's a very short book. It's 100 pages, but it's really not 100 pages because it's filled with a lot of illustrations. It's a story of this person here, Tiffany Jewell. Her picture's at the back, and she is biracial. And the good thing about the book is that she's very transparent about her trauma that she went through, right? She said her dad is black and her mom is white, and when she was young, she wasn't able to accept herself. Even as far as age 15, she was trying to straighten her hair and she didn't like her freckles. So she wasn't able to accept her ethnicity or her background, and you can see the pain that it caused her. And then on top of that, she talks about having a racist teacher when she was like 9 years old, and it was just a horrible experience that she went through, that this teacher was just on a power trip and traumatized the children, and did horrible things that wouldn't let them go to the bathroom. And so unfortunately, when you have that situation happen to a person, they are fueled by this revenge and hatred that comes out. And the goal now is to, as they call it, dismantle whiteness and to essentially tear down the existing infrastructure and replace it with their own, which is basically a communist manifesto type of thing, right? And between these type of people that are fueled by hatred, envy, and revenge, and the Alphabet Army, it's good to be aware of what is being promoted today. Somebody like this, to get anywhere near children and indoctrinate them with their own brand of hate, is a scary, scary thought. And the funny thing is that, again, she's very transparent in talking about when she is in a group of people, and in the section where she says calling out people. I thought that was quite amazing that she was actually admit to that. She is calling out this person, and then she's in a group of people that are all of the same goals, right? They're all trying to work towards anti-racism, as they call it. And this person says racism is an idea, and that just triggers her to no end. Well, let's look at this one here quickly. How am I doing for time? She says, she gives an example, and she meets another teacher, and that teacher might say, or maybe it's a hypothetical she's giving, well, I don't see color. Race really isn't an issue in my classroom. And she says this, but she says, that's not okay, right? In all caps, right? And she does this big paragraph. It says, important to see and acknowledge and understand that your students are different, right? This is shouting at the person who says, I don't see color. Race is really not an issue in my classroom, which would be a sensible thing for an educator to say, we don't have a problem with that. We're just going to study reading, writing, arithmetic, and so on. Your students are different. By working to actively not see the race, skin color of your students and their families, you are denying them. You are denying them their history. You are denying them their racial and ethnic background. You're basically saying you don't care about who you are. You are trying to make them the same and fit into the imaginary box. Your classroom only teaches the dominant culture of white supremacy. This is her response to a teacher that would say, well, I don't see color. Race really isn't an issue in my classroom. So you can see that response, and that to me is a scary thing. So she calls calling people out her superpower, interruptions. She interrupts people and tells them, no, you're not supporting white supremacy by saying that racism is not an issue. Um, so there you go. And she still regrets not standing up against that racist teacher she had when she was young. And so this is where she's getting the idea of making up for that, right? And somebody in this situation is unfortunately living under the old covenant, right? It's only with the new covenant, the teachings of Christ, where we can say, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. This is the only way to break the multi-generational situation of racism. I know that when I graduated from school, I was faced with what they called affirmative action. They said I couldn't work for the government because of affirmative action. And I also had an interview with a large Fortune 500 company that I was the best candidate for, but they said because of affirmative action, unfortunately, we have to, refuse to hire you. And it didn't, even though it bothered me a little bit, I realized that I have to just move on and find other opportunities, which I did, right? I basically worked my whole life as a full commission salesperson. So that if you don't serve, you don't get paid in that scenario. So living through that and then seeing this, knowing that this perpetuates and magnifies racism is really sad. And to indoctrinate children with this information, to say what parts of you that hold power and privilege in your community, and how can we dismantle whiteness in our community, and on and on and on like that. It ends up devouring themselves. She gives an example in the book where there's a person that says, racism is just an idea, and she just flips out. And here we go. As I was saying, she says, I was triggered when a white woman with authority and agency mentioned to the whole group. So she was in a group of people that were trying to promote anti-racism, right? And that social justice is an idea. Mentioned to the whole group that social justice is an idea. And she says, my body immediately tensed up. She says she was triggered, right? Because I don't agree with that. Justice is not just an idea. It's a necessity for life. Our survival depends on it. So I called her out. We'll talk more about the calling people out in just a moment. She said, I used my superpower and spoke up in front of the whole group of people. I'm going to call you out. Justice is not just an idea. It's a necessity for life. She immediately went into defense mode, and I started to feel like maybe I shouldn't have called her out, and definitely not in public. I started to regret using my superpower until I looked beyond her. I noticed that other folks in the global majority, she says the global majority is the folks, F-O-L-X. I saw all the other folks who exist outside of the imaginary box. They were nodding their heads, clapping and snapping. I think they do this when they want to, encourage people. They snap their fingers. And that moment, I was accountable to them. They were what mattered. We mattered, not the comfort of one. So you see, this one person wasn't racist enough for her, and she got triggered. And so she said, no, it's essential to life. What we're talking about here, it's not just an idea. And the person's like, well, I was just saying it's an idea. They kind of backtracked. And it sounds like she regretted being so aggressive. But then once she saw the other people in her group encourage her, that fueled her revenge and hatred in that situation. So very transparent admissions by this author. And because this person makes their living doing this, this person will not be able to ever change, right? They are dedicated to that cause, and that's how they want to spend their life, fighting for that cause. And so to approach that person and say, hey, you know what, maybe forgiveness can break that chain, that would be, totally something I doubt that they would ever be willing to accept in this particular lifetime. But I'm glad I read it. It shows really that how racism is being promoted and perpetuated at the school level. This is probably directed at teenagers, I would assume, or senior elementary or something like that. And that is what we have to promote homeschooling and keep children away from this type of indoctrination that is telling them that whiteness is evil and that they have to dismantle whiteness and so on and so forth. And it's really a sad commentary on the cultural revolution that is being promoted today. Just like Chairman Mao had a cultural revolution, right? They said, "Oh, we have to tear down all these institutions and rebuild it," and it creates chaos and hate, and it creates violence and all kinds of nasty repercussions that could be solved by um, the only hope of the world, which is Jesus, the Savior of the world, who said that, um, pray for your enemies, love your enemies, turn the other cheek. And she goes through the book and lists all the atrocities she can find that are racially motivated. And today we see racially motivated attacks from all different uh, ethnic groups. And so she picks out all the ones that she applies to what she calls folks, or what she calls the global majority. And, you know, it just fuels the fire more and more and more. So it's very sad that there is no forgiveness in that culture. There's so much lack of forgiveness. In fact, they start to devour one another, as she gives an example in the book. And so, all the more reason that we need to pray for peace. We need to pray for people like that that are have dedicated themselves to a life of hatred and revenge, and somehow maybe they may be cured of that before they have to leave the earth. I don't know if that is even possible. I highly doubt it, because that is has become their identity and their way of making a living, and a way of you know uh, selling books and so on and so forth. So there you have it. I hope that's just a quick review today. I don't want to really spend too much time on it, because again, it simply magnifies. The best solution I like is as Morgan Freeman said, stop talking about it. Why? I agree with the teacher that said racism is not an issue in my class. I'm going to be busy, focused on talking about English literature, history, mathematics, science, physics, chemistry, all these wonderful topics, biology, geology, political science, what have you, that you can help children to have an understanding of the world, instead of filling their minds and filling their identity with hatred, filling them just with, oh, this is the most important thing, this is essential to life, or you're not, or you're going to die unless you take up this cultural revolution and overthrow whiteness and so on and so forth. It's just very depressing to see that's where the efforts in education are going these days. So anyway, I really appreciate you watching. I hope you're doing well. God bless you. And again, I could talk more about this book, but I don't really want to, because I just set it aside and pray for that situation. Pray for what our political and especially our academic leadership is going through, because these people are fueled and funded by the interests that do want to see the breakdown of uh, Western society, and to replace it with a communist reorganization of however that's going to look. And so prayer is the answer, forgiveness is the answer, and hoping that wherever you are at in life, that you're able to spend time with people you love. So God bless you. Thank you for watching. I hope you're doing well, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay? Take care of yourself. Bye for now.